Hi everyone, good evening. I hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, Bhaskar.
Yes, you can.
Okay, perfect. So in the last session, we talked about Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, ADLS Gen 2. And this ADLS Gen 2, what are the access tiers we have that we came across it? Like hot access tier, cool access tier, and cold access tier. And apart from that, how we can access your storage account from outside. So from the desktop application, how we can access your ADLS Gen 2 that we came across in the last session. And the data is going to be distributed when you upload the data into the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, and how we can set up this and how we can upload the files into Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, we came across it. And today I'm going to talk about redundancy. I'm going to talk about redundancy. So redundancy is going to be very much common for each and every service from the Microsoft Azure. Okay, so most of the storage services, we are going to have it. If it is a processing service, we are not going to have a redundancy. We are going to use the repository to have the code. But for storage, we are going to have a redundancy. So redundancy means a duplication of the data. We are going to duplicate the data. So depends on the requirement or depends on the redundancy mode, we are going to have the data or we are going to duplicate the data. So minimum 3 times we are going to have and maximum 6 times we are going to have it. So same data we can store 6 times or we can store 3 times. So minimum 3 times and maximum 6 times. So what are the different types of redundancy modes are there? I'll talk about it. Let's go and create a storage account and we'll see what options are available. Let's create. All the setup we have to do at the time of creating. I'm just giving some different naming standard. So this one also we talked about it, and reason I told you collection of data centers is nothing but a reason. Okay, so now you just observe here. I have a varieties of redundancies. I have a LRS, GRS, ZRS, and GZRS. So this is going to replicate the data. It is going to make your data more and more available. So I'm having some diagram here. You can just observe. I'll share this document with you. Okay, so just share your email IDs. I'll share it so that you can just have a look on this DP 900. So redundancy is used to replicate the data within the primary region. Basically, when you take any storage account in the cloud, when you take a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, or when you take the database, we are going to have two regions. One is primary region and second is secondary region. We are going to have a control on the primary region. We can specify or we can take what region you wanted to take as a primary region. But the secondary region will be decided by your Microsoft. So cloud vendor only is going to decide about your secondary region, but the primary region that you can specify. So that is what I'm just trying to show you here. Even if I'm creating, I'm able to specify whatever the reason that we are going to come across this particular place. So this is going to be primary region. This is going to be primary region. So region means collection of data centers. Collection of data centers. Okay, so every data center you'll be having so many racks. Okay, so we don't need to know about all those things. For time being, you just understand we are going to have a primary region. Whenever you're going to take any service from the Microsoft Azure, you have to specify the region. Even for storage also, we have to specify. Now for storage, when it comes to the storage, you are going to have a primary region and secondary region will be decided based on your redundancy. Depends on the redundancy, you can have a secondary region. Okay, so it is not going to be available for everything. It is going to be available for only few redundancies. So that is what I'm just saying here. There are 4 different types or 4 different ways to store the data. And we have a LRS, locally redundant storage, and ZRS, zone redundant storage, and GRS, geo redundant storage, and geo zone redundant storage. So let me talk about each and everything, especially this is going to be helpful when you face an interview, there is a chances to ask about the database. So what kind of redundancy you are using for your database? In my project, we are using geo redundancy for database. Now, when it comes to the LRS, you can see here, you just imagine I'm sitting here. I wanted to upload the file into the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Whenever you are going to choose the redundancy type as locally redundant storage, you are going to have only primary region. You're going to have only primary region. You're not going to have a secondary region. So locally, within the local region, you're going to store the data. Okay, so if you're not having if you wanted to keep the data within your location, in some regions or in some countries, they are not interested to store the data out of their region. So because of securities. So if you have such kind of requirement, especially the government projects or government kind of data, they're going to store the data in the LRS. So client is going to decide what kind of or where they wanted to store. Based on that, solution architects are going to provide it. Okay, so at that particular point of time, we are not going to be worry about it. We are going to worry how we can read the data from the LRS or how we can read the data from the simply ADLS. If you ask me, I used to say ADLS. I don't care this ADLS is getting redundant with LRS or GRS or anything. Now you can see inside LRS, we have a 3 copies. That means if you upload the file called employee.csv, this employee.csv is going to be replicated 3 times. So if my file size is 10 MB, then here also on 10 MB, and here 10 MB, and here also it is going to be 10 MB. So total 30 MB is getting stored. The data is getting duplicated. I told you 3 times it is going to be replicated. If you go for Hadoop, that is little different. Okay, so replication factor will be there. The blocks will be replicated if I'm correct, because I did not work with the Hadoop. So, but when it comes to your entire file is going to be replicated 3 times. Of course, the storage will be there in the form of blocks only, but 3 copies or 3 times will be there. That is what I just keep some time to just go through them. If your application is restricted to replicating data only within the region due to data governance requirements, and consider this LRS. Otherwise, it is not required. And if at all, if this is failed, if this primary reason is failed, then you cannot have the data. Your data is going to be loose. Your data is going to be loose. So for that reason, there is a one more redundant storage was introduced, that is ZRS. Zone redundant storage. Zone redundant storage, you can see here availability zone 1, availability zone 2, and availability zone 3. So 3 data centers we are going to have. Okay, so these zones may not be having within the same data center. So you can see here I have a data center, separate data centers. When you go for LRS, there are going to be only one data center. But when it comes to here, we are going to have a 3 different data centers. But all these 3 different data centers are going to be there within the primary region. If I'm taking a central India as a primary region, within the central India, you're going to have a multiple data centers, and it is going to keep the data 3 times. So copy 1 in one data center, copy 2 in another data center, copy 3 in other data center. So this entire control will be done by your Microsoft itself. You cannot control at data center level. We have a control at the region level only. So that is about zone redundant storage. And we have a geo redundant.
Bhaskar,
Yeah.
one doubt is there between LRS and ZRS. So in the LRS, you said in the primary region itself, it is maintaining like 3 times.
Okay.
But compared to the ZRS also, in the primary region itself, we have 3 data sets. Huh?
Yes. If it is a
Then what is
LRS,
let's say in the primary region itself, it went shut down. Then
no,
what's the difference between?
reason will be different. Okay. So primary reason, but your availability zone will be different. Like if you take a Hyderabad, you're aware of Hyderabad, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we have a Kukatpalli or we have a Dilsukh Nagar. Okay. So you just imagine this is one, I'm having one data center here. I'm having one data center here. I'm just taking an
Mm-hmm.
example. Okay, so if something happened for this data center, still my data is going to be available. But if you
Mm-hmm.
go
Okay,
for
okay.
LRS, you have to keep all these three files within the same place. Within the same place, you're going to keep. But here, one copy you're keeping here, one copy here, and other copy here. So losing of the data is less chances.
Mm-hmm.
So that is
Got it.
what it is. Okay, so
Oh.
in that way, we can say that.
But in the LRS, you mentioned it will gonna replicate 3 times, correct?
Yeah, three times racks. You'll be having a racks
So
within the data
do we
center.
control over it? Like, let's say if I want to replicate 4 times,
No, no, you don't have any control.
okay, that's minimum itself 3 times.
Yes, minimum itself three times.
Then you said like the max is 6 times. Like how?
It will come. It will come.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so here also it is going to be having it three times because there is only one reason. Now, if the entire reason gone down, then you cannot access the data. If the entire reason goes down, then you cannot access it. There is more chances to lose the data. Now, in this particular kind of situation, the secondary reason comes into the picture. So in my project, we are using geo redundant storage. So what happens here is when the moment you have this geo, you're going to have a two reasons. One is primary reason and other is secondary reason. Primary reason is there, secondary reason is there. So within the primary reason, we have a LRS, and within the secondary reason also we have a LRS. Okay, so only one data center only here. Within the data center, it is going to be stored. Here also the same thing. The only thing is the between the difference distance between these two is thousands of kilometers away. So there is a very less chances to lose it. In my case, if I take a central India as a primary region, I may Microsoft will take South India as a secondary region. Okay, so in this particular case, if my central India was affected for some reason, I can bring this up. Your administration team can bring up so that people, your application or your data readers can take the data from here. If it is a database also same, that they will bring up. Okay, so this is how the zero redundant storage is going to work. There is a very, very less chances to lose the data. It's highly available. And writing the data between this is going to be continuously, it is going to be happen. We cannot see the difference, much more differences we cannot see. So all these things will be taken care by your Microsoft Azure itself. We don't need to worry about it. Okay, so that
Bhaskar,
is
but in terms of cost, how it will affect?
the cost is when you compare with on-prem, it is less only. Even if you go for Hadoop, if you have only one data center,
Mm-hmm.
if the entire data center was collapsed for some reason, then entire will go right, entire will go off. If you want to maintain the same data center in somewhere 1,000 kilometers away, your cost will be doubled. When you compare with your existed process, this is very, very less. The
Mm-hmm.
storage cost is very less.
No, but it will be differ, right? So it's not will be same.
No, even if you maintain single, here it is 2 times, that is not going to, even that also is going to be less.
Okay.
Okay, so the cost when it comes to primary region, secondary region, these two will be same. There will be no difference because you're keeping same data. Okay, so when you compare with your existed process, then still the cost is less.
Okay, got it.
So that is about geo redundant storage. And one more is there, that is geo zone redundant storage. Geo zone redundant storage I'm having GZRS. We already seen ZRS and LRS. When you combine these two, then it is a GZRS. So when the moment we see this geo, we are going to have a two reasons, primary reason and secondary reason. So here also we have the same thing. And you asked me like how it is going to be 6 copies, right? Even we have seen in the GRS also, 3 copies in the primary region and 3 copies in the secondary region. But when it comes to the geo zone redundant, these 3 copies are again distributed across the different data centers. So copy 1 here, copy 2 and copy 3. And 3 copies are there in the LRS. So secondary region always is going to be LRS only. Okay, so this will be decided by your solution architects and administrators. We are not going to worry about it. As a data engineer, we need to worry how we can connect to this particular storage by using your Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks. That is very, very important for us. Okay. Any question as of now?
Yeah, Bhaskar, how to decide on these types? But you told now your company, where your project, it is geo-redundant. So based on what criteria they are chosen as geo?
That will be taken care by administrators. See, yeah, if I have a very important data, then definitely you're going to keep you're going to duplicate it. So depends on the client requirement, the solution architects are going to do it. If they wanted to replicate the data 3 times across the different regions, then you can keep it.
Like any simple ways or any rule is there, like
no
for
rule. It's
LRS
all
or GRS or
no. It's not about
ZRS?
the rule. It's about requirement. Simple. If I'm having a videos, if I keep in one laptop, there is a chances to lose, right? You're
Yeah,
just
this concept I got it. Means what I'm trying to ask here, like there are different types of uh, yeah, this you mentioned, no? So
see, this is the local.
hmm.
So same to same, if you apply for this also, it is going to give the same answer. You just imagine this is your laptop.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you're keeping the data for some reason, if your data center is down, then entire data is going to lose.
Is
Or
there yeah, is there any thumb rule
like
first
there may
week?
be earthquakes will be there may be floods will be there may be shutdown, power shutdown will be there. There are many reasons it is going to be there, right? You're going to keep the data center where? In the location only, physical location only. Your systems will be there in the location only, right? So if you remember in Chennai, 5 years ago, there was a heavy floods. Are you
Yeah.
aware of it?
Yeah.
I was there that time.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was
so
flooded,
yeah,
flooded
that
actually.
entire DLF was not even having a power.
Yeah, it was flooded. Like Wipro office, it
Yeah.
was
So
down.
that means if you have a data center, then definitely it is going to affect it, right? If you have a data center in that region, in that particular location, then you're going to affect it. Entire region itself affected. Forget about even LRS.
Yeah, means considering these 4 types, like is there any thumb rule? Like, yeah, yes, we can go for initially LRS or GRS or ZRS or
No, initially they have to come up what kind of storage they need to have it. So they will explain if you go with this one, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages. Advantages is cost is less. Okay, and you can store within your location. You're not going to store like if you have a database here, if someone is accessing from out of the region far away, then there will be slight latency will be there. So if they need a faster, then they can keep the database or they can keep in a different regions. So if you're running a business with some application, how they're going to run? In India, Amazon.in, I guess, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, for Indian region.
Yeah. So the people who are near to this particular region can access this. Like that, they have a different applications, but all going to be connected together. So how that is going to be possible is they're going to have a separate application for faster access.
Yeah.
Even for this also, reading also. Your ADF is somewhere and your storage is somewhere and you're trying to read it. Okay, so that is one thing. Another thing is the losing of the data. The main is high availability. How make your data highly available for whatever the reason it is. And when you go for this, even this is a primary reason. These two are the primary reasons only. If entire South India was affected, I think a data center, they're having a South India data center in the Chennai only, if I'm correct. So if entire South India was affected, center South India means not the location wise, I'm saying they just kept one at location on some point of location, right? If that location is affected, then your region is affected. So in that case, if you wanted to read the data, how you can read it, how people can access it. So depends on the demand of your application, depends on the demand of your business. Business users are going to decide how they wanted to store it. Solution architects are going to give the pros and cons. Okay, clear or still have it?
Yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah, maybe it is based on different requirements, like
Exactly.
involved in different requirement, like where the end users are present.
Exactly.
We can choose Geo one. Yeah.
Yes. Mostly 90% people are going to choose the Geo.
Yeah.
Until unless that is a government project or something like that. If they have any restrictions, they will keep the data. Let's say, for example, we have a Aadhaar numbers, right? If we keep out of the region, anyhow, India is a very big. So we have two regions. In some countries, they will be having only one region. Okay, so if they don't allow to store the data out of the region, the problem will come where when they wanted to store the data geographically. So if they're not interested, even we are also not interested to store this data out of the region if you have a sensitive data. Okay, so this kind of things we are going to use.
Yeah, and even we can relate like this is if it is like region, it is belongs to one kind of continent, or geo means it is.
No, region both are basically both are same. Okay, so those people they used to call country, region, both are same only.
Okay.
Okay, so country, region, both are same. We are much more interested to call that as a country, but they are interested to call as a region. Okay, so in India we have two regions. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly, but I feel region, country, both are same. As it is big, we have a two. Even they're introducing one more also, if I'm correct. So 3 or 2 is there from the Microsoft. Okay, so that is about this redundancy.
Yeah, how the interview questions will come up on this topic?
No. This will mostly you don't get it.
Okay.
Only one time I faced it.
Okay.
So one time I faced it, but not relatively this redundancy, because this is important. Business demand. If business demands, you have to take it. Okay, so I have a database. They ask me like, how can we reduce the cost to the customers when we wanted to take the database? So that kind of question I faced, and even I experienced in that way. So I explained about it. So I'll talk about it. Okay, so this is about how we are going to store the data into Azure Data Lake Storage N2. Okay, so in the Azure Data Lake Storage N2, we can store the structured data. We can store this. When I say structured data, means like .csv files or comma separator files or even tab separator files. All this comes under structured data. And semi-structured data, we can store the JSON files also. And we can also store unstructured data as part of this particular storage. So it is a what I can say, it is like a lake. It is going to take anything. We can store anything inside the lake. But when you go for the database, we can store only structured data. So that is one thing. And other thing now I'm going to talk about is what is another storage from the Microsoft Azure. ADLS we have seen. Whatever we have seen, that is more enough, because we are not administrators. We are going to be Azure data engineers only. So once you start working, you can feel we are not going to touch all these things, I'm sure. But only for, we are going to do 2 projects in ADF phase 1. I'm going to make you to do it. And ADB, we are going to do together, ADB plus ADF. These 2 I'm going to take you through, but this one I'm going to explain how you can do it. And you people are going to do that once it is completed, once ADF is completed. So in that case, if you wanted to set up the environment, if you wanted to do the regular sessions practices, you should know how we can do it. But definitely when you're doing some doubts, you will get it. So I'm just trying to take you through a few things. This is about file system storage. Then what about database? I wanted to store the data only, I wanted to store only structured data. I wanted to store only structured data. So this structured data is important for the business. Okay, so even there is a NoSQL databases also very frequently people are using for applications, especially like when you take Amazon. So we are not having structured database. We are having NoSQL databases or semi-structured databases, we can say. Okay, so because that is going to be very faster. So I'll give some brief idea about it. Why we need to have a semi-structured data in the databases, something like Cosmos DB from the Microsoft, Cosmos or Cassandra. So something like that we are having it. So they are going to be very faster when you compare with relational databases. So relational databases only is going to have a structured data. Relational databases. Now where we are going to have a relational database? If you have a database in your on-prem, then that is an on-prem database. We have a Oracle and we have a SQL server. Okay, so we have a MySQL. There are many servers or many databases out there. These are all going to be databases which are used to store structured data. But if you have the same database, if you have a SQL server in the cloud, if you have a SQL server in the cloud, then it is a Azure SQL server. So since you are taking the SQL server from the Azure, then we can say it is a Azure SQL server. So what are the benefits are there if you take the Azure SQL server? I'm not talking about the SQL coding or SQL language at this point of time. When time comes, I'm going to talk about it. But I'm just going to talk what is the use of this Azure SQL server over your on-prem SQL server. If you go for on-prem SQL server, you need to have your own data center to set up it. Or you need to have a private data center or whatever it is. You need to have a private cloud or you need to have your own premises to have your SQL server. But when it comes to here, you don't need to worry about your infrastructure. You don't need to have your infrastructure. You don't need to worry about the operating system. You don't need to worry about upgrade of your system. I mean to say upgrade of your software. So this is always going to be up to date. Up to date it is going to be there. So that is how this Azure SQL Server is going to work. So Microsoft is providing with various purchasing models. I wanted to take the SQL Server from the cloud. Just imagine, I wanted to take this SQL Server from the cloud. So when the moment I wanted to take it from here, depends on your price or depends on your requirement, you can decide what kind of purchase model I wanted to take it. Like this kind of things you can apply for anything like iPhone. Okay, so what models will be the right? Depends on your price, you can decide it. So depends on the usage, which model is suitable for you, you can take it. Even for laptops also. Or any products you take, depends on your budget, you can choose it. In the same way here also, they're providing options for databases. So there are two different types of purchasing models. There are two different types of purchasing models. One is a DTUs based purchasing models. DTU based purchasing models and vCore based purchasing models. Okay, so DTU based purchasing model and vCore based purchasing model, we're having it. Inside each model, we have a 3 pricing tiers. When I take from the DTUs, we have a 3. So basic is there and standard is there and premium is there. Basic, standard and premium. So no one is going to use this basic. The basic is going to be used only for POC or educational purpose. Only for this kind of purpose we are going to use. In our journey, in our sessions, we are going to use only basic. Because the database cost is more when you compare with your file system. When you compare with ADLS, the price of your database and the price of your ADLS is very less. Very, very less. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, when I open my subscription, you can understand how this cost is going to be there. Okay, so you can feel that. Because I'm keeping this database for every month, multiple databases I'm keeping, so I will be having little more bill for these databases. But for you guys, you can have only one database so that you can have a less cost. So monthly cost, if you go with the basic, it is going to be there something around 465 INR, 465 Indian rupees. Okay, so that is about the basic. And there is a standard. The standard we are using in my previous project, I use this standard for testing purpose and even development purpose also. Because we are not having separate development database, we are using the same testing database because I was only individual developer in that particular project. So we were having only one environment for testing and development. But why we need to go for standard? Why don't we use the basic? Basic is going to come with the fixed bundle of the resources. So when I say resources, how much compute you require? So compute is going to be there, plus storage is going to be there. Compute and storage is going to come. These two are going to be tightly coupled. So because of that reason, the price is very, very less. 465 rupees is very, very less. So that is for educational purpose they are given. Okay, and we cannot increase the compute and we cannot increase the storage. The max storage is 2 GB and compute is we are having 5 DTUs. So DTUs means database transfer units. Database transfer units. So there is a chances to ask about in the interview. So what are the different purchasing models we're having in Azure SQL Server? So that may be the question. And what kind of pricing tier you are using in your project, they may ask. Even we are not responsible for this, but still there is a chances to ask because even I faced in the interview. Okay, so in two situations I explained. One, like what their question is, how did you satisfy your customer or where did you reduce the cost for your customer? So in that case, I took one option with the database and other option is the ADF. Okay, so while explaining about the ADF, I'll talk about it. But so here, how I explain about this one is, especially we are using the standard for testing and development. We have a feasibility here to increase the number of DTUs and to decrease the number of DTUs. So max 1024, I guess we can increase up to 1024 DTUs, and max is 1024 DTUs, if I'm correct. And if I wanted to decrease it, I can decrease, but minimum number of DTUs for this standard is 10 DTUs. Minimum 10 DTUs are required. Minimum, you cannot reduce more than less than 10. So if you need a less than 10, then you are having only the basic. You have to go for basic. Okay, so for testing purpose, this is going to be better because it is a budget friendly. This particular mode or particular purchasing model is budget friendly. So why it is a budget friendly is, when I wanted to run my job, then I'm going to increase this number of DTUs to S4, sometimes even S6 also. What is this S4 and S6? We'll see. That is the size of your DTUs. Okay, so S4 means 200 DTUs will be there, and S6 means 300 DTUs, and depends. Okay, so 10 means it is a S0. S0 is 10 DTUs. I'll show you that.
Bhaskar, if you don't mind, can you tell me in layman terms what is DTU?
It's a compute. That's what I'm saying. Your system will be there, right?
Okay.
Your processor. Your laptop is what you require. Compute means your processor.
Okay.
Okay. You're getting my point?
You're telling in terms of CPU and then
Exactly.
IO core?
Exactly.
Okay.
So CPU plus storage.
Got it.
Okay, so that is what the DTUs, database transfer units. They're measuring in the form of number of DTUs.
Got it.
Okay, so and premium, basically this for testing or development you can use it, but for premium, we used this particular option for production. My production size was around, let me give here. So 750 GB data we are having it. Okay, so depends on the size of your data that you can go and keep it. And in the standard, we are just keeping only the less volume of data. Max we can keep, depends on the size it is going to have it. Once my work is done, then you have to bring down to the 10 DTUs. Once your work is done, once you're done for the day, make sure to down the DTUs, number of DTUs. Otherwise, the cost will go increase. Even if you don't use it, you're taking the compute from the Microsoft. So whenever I need, I used to make it up. Whenever I need, I used to take it down. But everyone cannot make it up and down. We need to have a proper privileges. Okay, so if you don't have that privileges, then you cannot do it. Any question as of now with the details?
Yeah,
No, apart from this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please. Okay. Apart from this compute and the storage, any difference in the features wise?
Yeah, definitely. That is what it is. See, if you have a less number of details, then performance will be less. If you have a more compute, then performance will be faster. If I keep
I'm speaking in terms of the features, which means any difference in the functions and then other things.
No. This is purely related to storage and compute.
Okay.
Your SQL is common. No changes in the SQL.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was asking. Okay.
Yeah, no changes in that side. Only compute and storage.
Yeah, Bhaskar, in terms of like on-premises and this Azure SQL Server, like earlier we have seen like tables, views, procedures, triggers, indexes, so many database objects, and then SQL Server agents and all. So it is the same replica of this one, Azure?
Not, that's what, again, depends on your requirement. You have to take it. So this is about single database. Okay, so our SQL databases, we can say. So these databases are not going to have a SQL Server agent. It is not equivalent to your on-prem system.
Okay, it is not SQL server. It is a one database which we are going to create within that server. Like
Yeah, it is a
on
SQL server only. Okay, so but you're not going to have a SQL server agent.
Okay.
But when you go for on-prem, you are going to have a SQL server agent. Many even link servers also we can create it. But whereas in the Azure SQL Server databases, you cannot do it. Now, if your requirement demands to or take the similar kind of features the way you're having on-prem SQL Server, then we have a one more option that is in the same databases side. We're going to have a managed instance. Managed instance. SQL Server managed instance.
Okay, this one is which you are explaining.
This is equivalent to our on-prem SQL Server. Only thing is, you're not going to have any control on the operating system. No operating system is required for this one. No operating system is required for this one. But you can have a SQL Server agent. Okay, so you can have it.
But for modification, we used to write the code, the SQL code itself, right?
You can do it. Code and all you can do it.
Okay.
Code you can do.
So this is a
No, as
management.
Darshit mentioned, it will be like same, like stored procs and triggers and other
Yeah,
things.
it is common. They are common.
Okay.
They are common. Like if you wanted to schedule your SSIS, if you have experience on SSIS, so agent is not available. Okay, so agent will come only if it is a managed instance.
Okay.
But this
Azure
with this
SQL
one,
is different and Azure Managed Instance, that is different. Huh?
all are SQL only. They are limiting the options. If you go for
Okay.
SQL Server here, now I just connected with two databases, on-prem SQL Server, and this is a cloud SQL Server. Now, if I expand this, you can see the difference.
Yeah, this is a best example.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is this is.
So here I have many things. All those things are not available here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
now it's clear.
Yeah, this is giving clarity.
Yeah. And one more thing is cross database pulling is not possible here.
The linked server. Yeah.
Yes, here it is possible. Okay, so we will be having operating system control also here, but here we are not going to have any operating system control.
Okay. And that is a managed instance you told?
No, this is not managed instance. This is a single database.
What is the name you told for this?
Let me show you so that you can understand.
Okay.
Azure SQL.
Okay.
Now, if I say create, then you can see here.
Yeah, this name I wanted.
Yeah. Azure SQL, they are giving three deployment options. One is SQL databases, SQL managed instance, and SQL virtual machines. So SQL Server is there in three different flavors. Okay, so best for modern cloud applications, hyperscale and serverless options are available. So it is a single database. And this is a single instance. And when we can go for this particular one is, let's say, for example, I have an on-prem SQL Server. If I wanted to migrate to cloud, then you have to use the migration tools. To migrate it. And you're not going to get the same features the way you're having an on-prem SQL Server. You're going to lose that. Only the data you're going to push it. But when it comes to here, best for most migration to the cloud for lift and shift. Like if you have a data, you can lift and shift as it is into the SQL Server managed instance. You're going to get all the features. For lift and shift kind of mechanism, we are going to use this. And if you wanted to migrate with the migration tools, then you can go for this. But most of the times people are going to use this one. If they need to have the data, on-prem data in the SQL Server in cloud. But this one I used for control tables. Okay, so control tables only we used for logging purpose. For data engineering activities, we have used it, not for actual business data. But in my previous project, I used SQL Server as a source, I mean to say one of the source, and other source is Teradata. My target is Azure SQL Server. So Azure SQL Server we used as a data warehouse. That means the same thing, the same single database itself we used as a data warehouse.
So maybe it will be like more cost involved.
Yes, of course. Premium we went for premium. And you can also have a SQL Server in virtual machines. This is also for lift and shift only. But you are going to have a control on the OS. You can have
Yeah.
whatever the OS you require or whatever the version you require. You have a SQL Server version control. Let's say, for example, I have a 2016 SQL Server. I wanted to bring it as it is. But if you want to go here, you need to upgrade it. This is always going to be, I'm not sure about this one, but I'm sure this one is always going to be up to date version. Okay, so SQL Server, you can also have in a virtual machine. It is something like your on-prem SQL Server only. Only thing is your infrastructure is there from the cloud.
Yeah. And another question regarding, like you mentioned, Gen 2 and this Azure SQL, right? So, and you mentioned one scenario, like it will reduce drastically the amount when compared to Azure SQL to Gen 2. Gen 2 is
Of course,
very
it's
less.
very less, very less.
Yeah, that is the only reason we need to go nowadays data engineering with Gen 2.
Not only that, that supports for parallelism. This database will not support parallelism.
Okay. Yeah.
No blocks, right? No, we are not going to divide the data into blocks.
Correct. Yeah, it is in a like kind of series only.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll just
So
show my
that's why
class.
means now modern days, like all are ignoring or leaving the database separately, and they are
Yes.
making the medallion architecture.
Yes,
Hybrid
medallion.
architecture.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, thanks. It's giving some spark.
You can see here my SQL database cost for this month, 435. In couple of days, it is going to start new cycle. But you can see, because I'm keeping my databases continuously, I'm not removing it to save the time. So I'm getting the cost. This is a data factory cost, Azure Databricks cost. See, storage cost per month. Uncomparable, right?
Yes. Yeah. So this is due to the Azure SQL. This
Yes.
above one. Yeah.
The above one is Azure SQL Server.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
No worries. So I'm stopping here, but we'll see how we can create and how we can connect with SQL Server Management Studio, because we need to know about it. But later we are going to start talking about, after completion of Data Factory, we are going to start talking about the SQL language also. So SQL also is important for us. As a data engineer, we have to use it. And the same SQL Server we are going to use in the Databricks also. Okay.
And everything like means I'm just not able to digest the SQL Server. Earlier we were working on that means the schema wise and comparing data from the source to the destination and doing aggregation and all. So it is very much easy in the Gen 2 also. You means
No, we are not going to do the Gen 2. The data processing will be done by something else.
okay. That is
Okay.
what Databricks. Yeah.
Yes, that is for Databricks. You can do the data processing with the Databricks, or you can also do the data processing with the ADF also. Both will be possible.
Yeah, that I got it. Only storing purpose, Gen 2.
Only storing purpose.
Thanks.
Okay, so we are going to see many use cases, more than 200 different use cases we are going to come across it. Okay, so then you can get more clarity. So I need 2 more days to talk about this theoretical concept. Then once that is done, then we're going to start talking about Azure Data Factory.
Okay. And like how many days this theory will be there? Means
Mostly next one day.
And after that, hands-on only.
Even Data Factory also I required 1 day for theory. So max 2 days, because that is very important. The building blocks of Data Factory is very important.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Bhaskar,
Yeah.
can you tell me like the flow? It means We just started with introduction, and then we discussed about blob storage and the ADLS.
So first
And
I'm talking about the storage.
completely into the storage.
Yes, completely into the storage first.
Okay,
So
after
storage
this one,
introduction.
assume.
Yeah,
Okay,
once that is done. So in storage, we have seen ADLS
correct.
and
Blob
now
storage.
SQL Server. Forget about
Mhm.
the blob storage. Only ADLS, concentrate on this only. Okay,
Okay.
so once the setup is done, then we are going to start processing talk. So
Okay.
processing, we are going to use first ADF. So ADF, once ADF is completed, then we are going to take the ADB.
Okay. But before that one, you are going to speaking about the theory.
This is one day only here. One day theory will be here. And
Okay.
here still we need to set up the SQL Server, right?
Mm.
So that I'm going to show you, because we need to know, like, if you have a requirement to read the data from SQL Server to ADLS, then you should know how to set up the SQL Server, how to set up this and ADF.
Yeah, that's what,
Environment
like,
setup.
before
Yeah.
you're starting
Yes,
to hands
exactly.
on, then
Exactly.
we need to be installed in our system so that
No
it
need
will
to
be
install. No need to install. It's a cloud.
yeah, sorry. Cloud. Yeah.
It's a cloud. Only once I start this ADF, you need to have an account.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Any question before starting?
Bhaskar, you mentioned you'll be sharing that
Yeah, I'll share it.
900.
I'll share it. Just share your email ID. I think you already shared, right, to me?
No, I didn't share. I need
Okay,
to
so
share.
share with me.
So in
Okay,
the
Shall I
so
share
WhatsApp,
through
okay.
WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know my number, right?
Yeah.
9848 486690.
Bhaskar, you are creating any group for this
I'm
thing?
going to create, once payments are done, then I'm going to create it.
Sure.
So
Okay.
where we have to do the payment means.
Just please ping me in WhatsApp. I'll give the details.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then I'm 2 minutes late. My meeting was started.
Yeah. Tomorrow it is any class?
Yeah, tomorrow we'll talk about it so that we can complete the SQL Server. And from Monday, we are going to start talking about Data Factory.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll see you on tomorrow. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.